we can use a variable in our color as well, and we can use that to create kind of a gradient effect. So something to consider is that color does only go from input values of 0 to 255. So whatever number we have our variables start out and how we're increasing it, we don't want it to go past 255 because then it just keeps the same color. If I have a red, that is 25500, so that's my red is 255, my green is 0, my blue is 0, or if it was 500, 00, it's the same thing because it caps out at 255. And the second thing to keep in mind is that processing loops through the draw at 60 times per second. So that number that you're increasing your variable by, if it's controlling a color, needs to be a really pretty small number. And you'll even find that you can get big results by going in half-step increments. You don't have to. You could still stay in whole numbers and just increase it by 5, for example, your variable, whatever you're going to call it. But I have found that you can get different results by doing 5.5, for example. So if we want to increase something by a decimal, we're going to declare our variable as a float type. And again, you don't have to make this 5.5 just because it's color. It doesn't have to be a float. I'm really just suggesting it, and I wanted to have an example, an opportunity to use float variable types. Okay, so here it is already done for you, and then we're going to play with it. Step 1 and step 2, right? I've done that for all of my variables now. They all are initializing and declaring in one step. This one, however, I just initialized it as a float instead of an int. And I'm calling it R, so original, because I'm going to use it to target my red in my color. I'm having it start out at 50. So when processing first comes to this fill here, it plots us in at 50, 200, 200. And then every time it loops through, it's going to come down here and it's going to add 5.5 to it. So then the second time it's 55.5, and then it just keeps adding 5.5. So let's copy this into a new sketch. And take a moment just to notice if you find a difference, if you put it at 4.5 or at 4, or what different kinds of gradients, where does the gradient, how can you get the gradient to be kind of continue to shift and not cap out at what number? And I found that there was a difference between if I used a whole number of 5 versus 5.5. Just that half decimal gave it a gradient a little bit longer. But you could try going, a little bit higher, 6.5, or a little bit lower, 3.5. Oops. Okay, so that's all. It's just the exact same as everything else we've been doing, step 1 and step 2, step 3, step 4. Okay, so for your practice, I want you to go back to one of your sketches from practice 4 and add that third variable that controls the color, and then show me what you have.